What if I told you one man standing on a balcony could make an entire country lose its mind? Not because of politics, not because of royalty, not because of some historic speech, but because of a smile. Because on one unforgettable night in Mexico City, 50,000 people gathered in the legendary Zócalo Square weren't waiting for a president. They were waiting for Jin. And the moment he appeared, history changed. The atmosphere in Mexico City that day was already unreal, long before BTS even arrived at the presidential palace. Streets were flooded with fans carrying banners, purple lights, RJ dolls, handmade posters, and phones ready to capture what many people called a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Some fans had traveled across the country, others came from neighboring nations. And everyone shared the same feeling. We finally get to see BTS in Mexico. But among the excitement, there was one name echoing especially loud through the crowds. Jin, Kim Seokjin, the worldwide handsome, the man fans lovingly call a prince in real life. And honestly, after what happened in Mexico, that title somehow still feels too small, because this wasn't just another celebrity appearance. This felt cinematic, historic, almost unreal. At the official invitation of Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, BTS arrived at the presidential office in Mexico City for a meeting that instantly became global news. The Mexican government welcomed the group as distinguished guests, honoring them not only for their music, but for the emotional and cultural impact they've had on young people around the world. Think about that carefully. A government acknowledging a music group for spreading empathy, peace, diversity, and respect. That's bigger than charts, bigger than awards, bigger than fame. That's legacy. During the meeting, BTS received a commemorative plaque recognizing the positive influence they've had on Mexican youth and the powerful community they helped build through music. And if you've followed BTS for years, you know exactly why that matters. Because BTS never built their career only on popularity. They built it on comfort, connection, healing. And in Mexico, you could feel how deeply people understood that. But then came the moment nobody will ever forget. The balcony appearance. As BTS stepped outside with President Claudia Sheinbaum overlooking the massive Zócalo Square, the crowd absolutely erupted. 50,000 people. 50,000 voices screaming at once. It wasn't normal cheering anymore. It sounded emotional, overwhelming, almost desperate in the best possible way. The kind of screaming that comes from people who waited years for this exact moment. Videos from the scene captured fans crying before the members even fully appeared. Others were shaking uncontrollably while trying to film. And then, Jin walked forward. The reaction somehow became even louder. The second fans saw him in that light beige suit, looking impossibly elegant under the evening sky. Social media immediately exploded with comments calling him Prince Jin. And honestly, they weren't exaggerating. Everything about him looked unreal. The soft expression, the graceful posture, the calm way he waved to fans, the warmth in his eyes. It genuinely looked like a scene from a movie. What made the moment even more emotional was the music playing before BTS appeared. Jin's solo OST, Yours, echoed throughout the entire square while thousands of fans waited together. Can you imagine hearing Jin's voice filling one of the most famous public squares in the world? That song already carries so much emotion on its own. But hearing it surrounded by thousands of people who love him? That must have felt magical. And then Jin did something that perfectly captured who he is as a person. The second he saw the endless ocean of fans stretching across Zócalo Square, he immediately pulled out his Samsung Galaxy phone and started filming the crowd himself. Almost like he wanted to preserve the memory forever. That detail touched fans deeply online. Because even during one of the biggest moments of his career, Jin still reacted like someone genuinely grateful and amazed by the love he receives. Not arrogant, not distant, not untouchable, just deeply appreciative. And the fans noticed every tiny detail. The way he kept looking around the square with wide eyes, the way he smiled softly at signs people were holding, the way he seemed unable to stop staring at the crowd. You could tell he was trying to take it all in emotionally. And honestly, maybe nobody was prepared for just how much Mexico loves Jin. Everywhere in the crowd, people held signs with his face, his name, and RJ, the adorable BT21 character he personally created. Some fans wore outfits inspired by him, Others painted messages on banners saying they had waited years to see him. And when Jin waved in their direction, absolute chaos. The screams became deafening. But then came the moment that completely shattered fans emotionally. As BTS finished greeting the crowd and began turning away from the balcony, Jin suddenly looked back one more time and shouted, "I love you, ARMY." That was it. That single sentence destroyed everyone. Fans immediately burst into tears. Videos flooded social media within seconds. People online said they replayed the moment over and over because of how sincere he sounded. And almost instantly, phrases like, "Prince Jin in Mexico," "We love you, Jin," started trending worldwide on X. Not just in Mexico, in the United States, in Asia, in multiple countries simultaneously. Because somehow, Jin always creates moments that feel emotionally personal, no matter how massive the event is. That's one of the most fascinating things about him. Yes, people talk about his visuals constantly. And let's be honest, his visuals in Mexico were absolutely insane. But visuals alone don't create reactions like this. People respond to Jin emotionally because of the energy he gives off. There's this gentleness about him, this warmth that makes fans feel safe. Even in giant public appearances with presidents and cameras everywhere, he still somehow feels approachable, like someone who genuinely values the people supporting him. And Mexico clearly feels that connection deeply. In fact, Jin's popularity in Mexico has become so massive that House Radio, Mexico's #1 online pop music station, selected him as the 2025 K-pop artist for the second consecutive year. That level of consistency says everything. And his solo music is dominating too. His song "Don't Say You Love Me" not only ranked in the K-pop song category, it also topped House Radio's charts during the first week of May and earned the #1 spot on the top 30 songs representing summer 2025. Think about how incredible that is. A Korean solo artist becoming one of the defining sounds of summer in Mexico. That's not ordinary success. That's cultural impact. Even Mexico's Minister of Economy, Marcelo Ebrard, has openly acknowledged how loved BTS is in the country. After previously meeting Jin, he reportedly shared how much Mexican people adore their music. And honestly, after seeing 50,000 people scream for Jin Zócalo Square, nobody can question it anymore. Mexico truly loves him. Not casually, passionately, emotionally, completely. Meanwhile, BTS is preparing for 3 gigantic concerts at Estadio GNP Seguros in Mexico City. Every single show sold out. Every single one. And according to the Mexico City Chamber of Commerce, the economic impact of the concerts is expected to exceed $107 million. That number is unbelievable. Hotels, restaurants, transportation, tourism, local businesses, entire sections of the economy are benefiting because BTS came to Mexico. That's the level they operate on now. But somehow, despite all the statistics and headlines, people still keep returning to one specific image. Jin, standing on that balcony, smiling softly while 50,000 people screamed his name, looking emotional himself as he tried to film the crowd, almost like he wanted to remember every second forever. And honestly, maybe that's why this moment hit fans so hard, because underneath the fame, the sold-out stadiums, the awards, and the global headlines, Jin still reacts to love like someone who never takes it for granted. You can see it in his eyes. That mixture of disbelief, gratitude, and affection. And maybe that's why people everywhere, from Korea to Mexico to every corner of the world, feel so attached to him. Because when Jin says, "I love you, ARMY," people believe him completely. And for one unforgettable night in Mexico City, under the lights of Zócalo Square, with 50,000 voices shaking the air, the entire world witnessed something bigger than a celebrity appearance. They witnessed a connection powerful enough to cross language, culture, and distance. A connection that turned Jin into more than an idol, into a memory Mexico may never forget.